Hello again, my very wonderful friends, and welcome to another amiibo review / analysis sort of deal. This is a pretty special one because this little Zelda amiibo here was gifted to me very generously from BenBen, who you can watch a video of me unboxing this. This was my my first fan gift, and down in the comments I'll put the link and link to his channel and stuff. So, yeah, that's my intro. Let's get started. Now, right off the bat, what's pretty obvious is that, looking at her, comparing her to the rest of my amiibo, she's probably the weakest of the bunch. Now, that does not mean that she's a bad amiibo whatsoever, but just technically speaking, I would probably put her just a little bit below the others. Now, part of the reason, I've talked about this a lot of times before, she is a humanoid figure, a human-like figure, and those are just a lot harder to, to translate into toy form because, we know humans pretty well, so we know when there's any sort of flaws. And so it's just a little bit harder, although I would say that they did do a much better job with her than they have with some others. A few of the other ones, their faces look a little weird. You can't really see it here, but her face is pretty much perfect. Like, she's got the little printed or painted on eyes. They're very straight and good. They don't look derpy like Marth's or anything, at least from what I've seen. Her face looks good. Overall, like, she is really solid. She's just maybe a tiny bit more sloppy because she doesn't have like the other two humanoid figures I have are Ganondorf and Samus. Okay, well, Samus has all of her armor, so it's not even like you're looking at a person, you're looking at a cool robot thing. And then Ganondorf, he's a very cartoony character with a lot of detail on his suit, so that's why that came out okay. Zelda's pretty, she's got a lot of smooth parts. You can see her head and her hair a lot, so naturally, looking at it, it's like a fine representation, but just, really technically speaking, it's not like perfect. I'm not looking at just an absolute perfect representation of that character in 3D sculpted form. She's got some pretty fine painting details, which I think were also sort of a point of weakness. Her little pendant on her chest, you can sort of see where the plastic is raised up to make the pendant look 3D, and they painted on it, but they didn't quite paint all the way on the raised part, so there's like a little skin-colored part. Very, very, very minor detail. The little pendant parts on her dress, too, are not, absolutely perfect. A lot of it is great. The sigil thing, going down her dress is good. She's got some little etchings in her skirt. The look of the skirt is awesome, but I'll talk more about that later. Her hair, it's hard to make a person's hair into, plastic, So, it's not, it looks fine. It's just not wow, that's perfect. Her shoulder things are they're pretty all right. They're a little bit sloppy. But what I will say, though, that she has going for her, I give her, she's not absolutely perfect as a representation and all that stuff, but her posing is what spikes her quality level and makes her super awesome. It's the pose that she's giving is it's powerful. It's she's, because this Zelda, Twilight Princess Zelda, first off, is the coolest. She's just the coolest Zelda ever. The other Zeldas are fine, but she's so cool, and she's very very strong, and so this pose right here is showing off this this power. You can imagine her doing some sort of cool magic trick or something, or that one move in Smash Brothers where she shoots off the thingy or whatever, and it's very, very cool. It's very commanding, and then at the same time you've also got the skirt thing, which is just, that adds to it. It adds an amazing sense of motion to her, even though she's not moving. She's really just standing there. If you look closely at her legs, you can see that she's kind of mid-step, and it's a very small step. She's not running, she's not jumping, she's not dashing. She's just sort of stepping and doing this move. And yet, even with that subtlety, you get so much movement. You get so much just action with this, and that's what's so cool is that subtlety, the power you perceive just by her lifting up her hand while walking forward. You can imagine her in some crazy battle or something, or just it's very powerful and cool. And that skirt, it's kind of a shiny piece of plastic. it doesn't really look like fabric because it has to be made with plastic. And you know, there's like some little like dirty spots on it. Something about the manufacturing process. Just apparently, you can't see them, but you know, just like little smudges here and there. So it's like not absolutely perfect, but the sculpt of it, the shape of it is phenomenal. It really just adds to that movement. That wind, like the power. You could even imagine that her magic itself is like blowing the skirt over. So like that, and then you know she's got a little bit of the wind thing on her hair too. So like all of these things add together. It's the posing itself that I would say out of all the amiibo I have, she technically like rendered wise is the weakest, but her pose is probably the coolest. Like Samus's is cool too, but like this one is just like, this is art. Like this is, you know, if this was a full like size sculpture, like this would be a awesome way. I think the only thing that would make it cooler is if she had her sword like in that one part Twilight Princess and some of the promo art, but that wouldn't exactly make sense because she doesn't use the sword in Smash Brothers, but you know. And let's see, her she's got I always like to remark on the little pieces of plastic holding them up. Hers is only on her back foot and it is blue. I don't like that it's blue. I always think that it should just be clear, as I've said many times before. However, it is hidden enough, like you can't even really see it. It's behind here. You kind of have to be looking at it. So it's not really that big of a deal. And it's very small, and it's just on one foot. So there's not much else to say. You know, she's a slightly less than perfect representation. It's a lot easier to see just like the little details and bits of paint, you know, like how they painted her hair. Like that was a little bit sloppy. The braids, just, I don't know, it just comes with being a human figure. You're more aware of like the seams that are like on the edges of her hands. Although I will say altogether, she's pretty seamless. Like you can't really see a lot of them because a lot of them get hidden in her dress. You know, like her dress came together. I don't know if that's one solid piece or if those are just creases, but like you can imagine they're creases. But you can see them a little bit in her hands, though. Yeah, I will say that she's got less visible seams than a lot of amiibo. But overall, though, she's really super awesome, and it is that pose that really makes her. If she was in a more boring pose, she'd probably lose a few more points. But as it is, she's just a really awesome, like imposing, just cool, like powerful sort of thing going on with her. It's really neat. This little Zelda is awesome and will go great next to my Ganondorf. Like I said, she's not perfect, but she's pretty close to it, so that is why I give her 4 out of 5 tingles. Yep. And, speaking of Zelda, I recently did a video where I ranked all 5 of Zelda's 3D entries, so if you haven't checked that out yet, I'll just kind of scooch over here and put it up right there. Yeah, so I'll just wait right here in case you haven't seen that, so you can, you know, click right there. Give it a watch. I'll sit here and jam quietly to my outro music.